It's Jimmy Dore Show. I'm Aaron Maté, sitting in for Jimmy here with Misha Pollan and Americans comedian Kurt Metzger. And our guest is Scott Ritter, former Marine Corps intelligence officer and former UN weapons inspector, author of the book Disarmament in the Time of Perestroika, Arms Control, and the End of the Soviet Union. All right, Scott, so we've just been talking about Mike Morrell. I'm going to ask you to respond to another former senior official, served under Ronald Reagan. His name is Oliver North, and he had this to say recently in an interview with Fox News.
Is that money well spent? The president's assuring us that he's going to deal with it responsibly, but $110 billion, American people aren't seeing that kind of money. It's coming out of their pockets.
Well, it's coming out of all of our pockets, but it's money well spent. In my humble opinion, this is very much like what Ronald Reagan did back in the 80s, and I do have some experience with that. I know that makes me a lot older than most of our viewers, but in fact, he believed in supporting freedom fighters. He did it in Latin America. He did it in Angola, Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique. He did it in Afghanistan. Those people were willing, as the Ukrainian people are, to use their blood and our bullets. And by the way, most of that $110 billion total, between the 45, the 1.7, and the previous 65, over 110 billion, is spent here in the United States. It's provided to contractors and defense logisticians and the kinds of people who build the kinds of systems that we're getting. So most of that money is spent here in America. Good, hardworking Americans have the jobs. And when you look at that kind of an investment, what would be the difference if, when the giant does awake, and that's all about communist China. It's just not a plug for this book. The idea of it is to make sure that they get the right message and to make sure that Putin gets the right message. No more invasions. And that means the people in Taiwan are going to need the same kinds of weapon systems that we're now providing to the Ukrainians. And we better get hot at it because the communist Chinese aren't backing down, but they're watching very carefully what we're doing. And so, Jason, in my humble opinion, this is money well spent. And it's expensive stuff. The Patriot batteries themselves are very expensive. When you look at each one of the Patriot PAC-3 missiles, literally comes in well over $1 billion a battery and $1 million a missile. So you're trying to shoot at stuff that's being flown by Putin as he's trying to redraw the boundaries of Europe. A Patriot battery, $1.5 billion. Each Patriot missile, $4 million. The max range, about 100 miles. So the Iranians Shahed drones, 80-pound warhead, $25K a piece. That's what we're up against. And he's got volleys and volleys of them that they're firing at infrastructure in the dead of winter.
So that's Oliver North. And for those who don't know who he is, he was convicted in the 1980s for lying to Congress about his role in the Iran-Contra affair. And that's when the Reagan administration, to try to get around some congressional restrictions on arming the Contras of Nicaragua during the dirty war waged by the U.S. against Nicaragua to overthrow the Sandinista government. Oliver North basically was involved in the scheme to get around that restriction by basically selling weapons to Iran and then using the proceeds to help the Contras of Nicaragua. But they got caught, and Oliver North was accused of lying about it, and eventually, although eventually his charges were vacated. But that's Oliver North. And he says a lot there, Scott Ritter. He says their blood, our bullets. He compares the Ukrainians favorably to the Mujahideen of Afghanistan, which he calls freedom fighters, and the death squads in Central America that he helped arm. He says that really this is about sending a message to China. What's your reaction to hearing his comments?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, if I were applying for a head coaching job, I wouldn't bring up the list of my greatest defeats. Not a single thing that he brought up was a success. I mean, literally, Contras, we lost. Mozambique, we lost. Guinea-Bissau, we lost. We lost. Afghanistan. I mean, okay, yeah, we helped the Mujahideen. The Russians left. It turned into Al-Qaeda, and we lost. So, Oliver North doesn't have a great track record here. Two, he brought up something. He brought up the Patriot missile. Does he not understand? I mean, what he was saying? Ollie, please get a calculator. $4 million a missile, $25,000 per Iranian Shahed 136 drones. We're going to go bankrupt very quickly. And we're only, Oliver North literally, again, he had an experience. It's many years ago. He doesn't know what he's talking about today at all. First of all, Ollie, almost everything we've sent over there has been destroyed. So it's not as though we've built up this wonderful base. We gave them a lot. It enabled them to carry out some very successful offensive operations in September and October, where they lost the bulk of not only all of the equipment, but they lost tens of thousands of men. They have no reserves left because of this. We're not giving them what they need. The Patriot missile takes 5 months to train personnel. It won't be on the battlefield till June. You can't tell me, Ollie, what you know the battlefield will look like in June. I will tell you it won't look like it looks like right now. There'll be a lot more dead Ukrainians. And the Russians will have a lot more territory. The Patriot missile doesn't have a great success rate, Ollie, sort of like your covert actions. They fail. They didn't shoot down Iraqi Scuds very well during the first Gulf War. They shot down more Allied aircraft than Iraqi missiles in 2003. And they didn't help the Saudis protect their vital oil infrastructure against, cheap Iranian drones flown by the Houthi rebels in Yemen. The Patriot sucks as a system. It's a horrible system. All we've done with the Ukrainians, in addition to wasting over $1 billion of taxpayer money, is guarantee more dead Ukrainians. There's 90 Ukrainians who are being trained on this system, and they're going to die because the Russians have had the system's been around a long time. The Russians have been preparing for it. This will be the first time Russia faces it on the battlefield in combat, and the Russians have said, we're going to kill it, and they are going to kill it.
And that Patriot battery doesn't even get deployed until the spring, right?
Yeah. But again, get deployed. I'm sorry. I mean, I respect the Ukrainian forces to a degree. I don't respect the Banderists. I don't respect the Nazis. May they all rot in hell. But the average Ukrainian who's just been caught up in this and is defending his country, I mean, they put up a valiant resistance. They're fighting hard. They're sacrificing everything. You have to respect that. They're going to receive one of the most technologically complex weapon systems around. One of the reasons why the Patriot fails is it's overly complicated. And the Russians know this. I'm not going to give away the secrets on how to spoof the Patriot, but everybody who knows anything about the Patriot knows what these secrets are. And these poor Ukrainians are going to come on the battlefield and they're going to go through the training manual, click on, boom. And meanwhile, the Russians are going to spoof, they're going to focus, they're going to die. I mean, it's going to be that quick. This is tragic, and we know this. That's the sad thing. Everybody involved here knows it. It's just like Vietnamization in 1974-75, turning all this equipment over to the South Vietnamese. We knew they couldn't maintain the F-5 fighters. We knew they couldn't maintain this equipment, but we gave it to them anyways, and the end result was they were defeated, and the North Vietnamese got all this equipment for free. Everything we're sending over there is either going to be destroyed or captured by the Russians.
Well, for some more background on Oliver North, we're going to turn to the animated series American Dad, which put this explainer together.
Wait, who's Oliver North?
What? I can't believe you kids don't know about the great patriot Ollie North. In the 80s, there was Cold War drama. We fought the commies inside Nicaragua. Our friends were the Contras. Freedom was their mantra, so we sent them lots of money for guns and landmines. But Congress stopped the Contra money flow just 'cause they moved a teeny bit of blow. But then a hero came forth. His name was Oliver North. He and Reagan went around the sissy Congress. Ollie North, Ollie North. You see, North secretly sold missiles to a harmless country called Iran and would always be a grateful ally. Then he gave the profits to the Contras. Genius! But the sales were uncovered by the press. Reagan and North began to stress. 'Cause what they did was technically high treason. But it was totally justified. North volunteered to take the blame to save Reagan from prison rape shame. The truth he did bury with his hot secretary, thanks to her shredder. He got off totally scot-free. Ollie North, he's a soldier and a hero and a novelist, and now he's on Fox News.
So that's from American Dad. And yeah, it's true that he did destroy documents. And I believe he even did so on the orders, or at least on the advice of William Casey. I think it was the director of the CIA. But that's Oliver North now sharing his analysis on Fox News.
Everybody were doing live stand-up comedy in Los Angeles in January and February in Los Angeles. And then we're going to Tempe, Palm Springs, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Nashville. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets and become a premium member while you're there.